So back to our relocation topic. Since you've been working with me with Savvy Cat, what do you think are the things that the people that come here are most concerned about?
Well, they normally ask about if it's a safe place to live in. They worry about that a lot. Um, like I mentioned before, we have both sides, expats asking for expats communities, maybe to feel a bit more integrated. But also we have lots of people asking what can they do to be more integrated in the Portuguese traditional lifestyle. Um, they also ask for what do we do like on a day-to-day basis? How's the economy in Portugal? Um, and well, a lot more questions, but I think they normally worry about more some of these topics that I mentioned.
Yeah, so we should go one by one. The first one was safety. I think
Yeah.
Portugal is a very safe country. In cities like Porto and Lisbon, there was some bad neighborhoods. There are probably still some that are not very advisable in Lisbon more than Porto. As you know, the bigger cities, the more people there are, the higher the likelihood of criminality, because the higher the likelihood of steep socio-economical differences, and people that are in a position that is so bad they feel cornered often end up stealing. Porto does have a very good support system and has a lot of social neighborhoods that do make those kind of things a bit better. Lisbon does not have that so much, but it has been a lot of investment lately. And one of the things that the town hall is concerned at the moment is the affordable living, because one of the things that is happening in Lisbon is that the locals are being driven away from the center of the city because it's becoming completely unaffordable from a local perspective. Um, and with the COVID crisis, I think we are not even seeing the tip of the iceberg on the economic side, but um, I do think, as I mentioned before, that Portugal will be attracting a lot of future foreign residents from that tendency of, people just looking for a better life, for a place where their money goes further. And Portugal is a great applicant on that. For one of the reasons is it has really good safety. And we have pretty great quality of life. The prices compared to many other countries are super affordable. Here in Portugal, we can walk everywhere. This is the middle of the city. Most cities have places like this. Everyone expects so. For me, one of the things that really bugged my mind was when my US client told me we cannot walk to the supermarket. That's just completely unthinkable for us.
Yeah. Yeah, even during evening at night, we feel safe walking everywhere. So it's uh, that's one of the great characteristics of Portugal for sure. Yeah, it's a
Yes, and
very safe
living in
place to live.
Portugal may have a bit more of a risk, but it's still a very, very low risk.
Yeah.
Um, so have you ever felt unsafe here in Portugal?
Oh no, no, not at
Just
all.
out of curiosity, how was Australia in that regard?
Well, I felt quite safe there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's regarding to that, it's quite similar to Portugal. We lived in despite it is a touristic place. At the same time, it's not a big city, so everyone ends up knowing everyone. So you feel quite safe, and you can see the police going through the streets all the time. So yeah, I felt quite safe there.
How do you think it was the cost of living in comparison?
Well, the cost of living, well, it's in Australia, it's a bit more expensive, for sure. Yeah, but still, you if you have the ability of having a job there with a good salary, you can sustain yourself very well with living there in an Australian lifestyle. Going to the supermarket, things are a bit expensive. Like the internet service was very expensive at the time. Um, the house where we were living at the beginning was very expensive, but then we ended up finding out what ways we could do to have a more sustainable lifestyle. So we wouldn't need to be spending so much money.
Do you find that was easier to do in Australia or it was easier to do here?
To do
to live sustainably and to get financially.
Well, in Portugal, I think if you're willing to not have like a very big house and a very expensive car, you can also have a very good quality of life because it depends on how much you spend on your day-to-day basis. So for me, it's not hard to live with the lowest salary here in Portugal because I don't spend much money in unnecessary things. So
yeah, keep in mind that the lowest salary here in Portugal is very, very low. So the Portugal minimum wage is 630.
Yeah, 650, I think, at the moment.
650, yeah, it went up. It used to be under 500. So, and as I've said, and I keep saying, the average salary is 750. So if you come here with a foreign income, you will pretty much live like a king.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Yeah.
So
for Portuguese people live in Portugal with the minimum wage. It's very hard, especially in Lisbon and Porto.
yeah, it's good. That's
high,
why it's driving people away. But in Lisbon, almost no one offers the minimum wage anymore because it's just impossible to live in Lisbon with a minimum wage.
Yeah.
But going back to that list of questions that you had from our expats moving to Portugal, the first one was safety. The second one was
I think I mentioned about they asking for expat communities here.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Portuguese, as I said, Portugal is attracting a lot of foreigners in that regard because it can be kind of a paradise if you think of it. We're just at the door of Europe. You get people that are living in Portugal have access to all of the European Union. And in comparison, the prices are very affordable comparing to the rest of the European Union. And it's a very safe country.
Yeah.
So you do have a lot of, I think, I often get surprised that I go to things like, for example, when I was doing my medieval fair with my Viking tavern in Penella, I was not expecting to find the amount of foreigners that I did completely integrated in there and just, I just wasn't expecting that at all. I found people from the US, people from Dutchland, people from Sweden. And I was just like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, the same here, especially here in Caldas da Rainha, where I live. I've seen like a growing community of foreigner residents actually living here and doing the same things that we do, going to the fruit market to get some fruits and vegetables, going to the events, to the same schools that our kids go to. So I think they feel very integrated in the Portuguese community. As I said, if they are looking to feel more comfortable, they can always look for expat communities that they will find it for sure everywhere.
Yes, everywhere really. It's surprising, but it has been very good for our economy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, especially
So
during this time of the pandemic, it's good to see that we still have foreigner people coming to Portugal and still choosing our country uh, to live in. So that's always good.
yeah, and going back to those questions, do you remember what the other ones were?
Well, I talked about safety, the expat community, and let me see. I don't
Because
remember
also
actually.
leaving, we went over that. Uh,
How's the
what?
economy? They worry about how's the economy, if they can go like to small businesses to uh, buy their day-to-day groceries, or if we have supermarkets, they worry about that as well. If we have
Yeah,
like a
we
small
have we have a bit of everything, especially in medium and big cities. There is a lot of small commerce, and that's a great thing. And I'm giving you an example of the here where I am now. Aveiro is a city that is growing a lot now. So this used to be a ceramic factory that got abandoned for a long time, and it has been rehabilitated for commercial spaces. Yeah, a big part of it has been is being used for public services like social security, but from that bigger part on, it's a bunch of co-working spaces. It is restaurants, bars, that kind of thing, and all small businesses. Then you have the bigger business like here, the Hotel Melia, and the tours that is almost 8 p.m. and they still keep going. I've been seeing them. They are completely. The city is coming back to life. It's the high season. It's of course much lower than it would be normally on COVID, but it's very active. And to that side, there is shops under all the buildings, and all of them are full. Are full. I mean, are being active, and small coffee shops, and there's more restaurants over there. And I think that's the case in most medium-sized cities. You always have a lot of small commerce available. There in college too, there was a lot of people that went in college there and opened their own businesses and have their own small shops. In Coimbra, it's a bit more centralized. There aren't that many small shops in the residential neighborhood, but they're in the center. It's a bit spread out. But overall, you can find a lot of small businesses in Portugal.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say that here in Santos, I feel like that the community that lives in the city actually worries about going to that small business to help them to maintain their businesses. And
Yes.
especially through the pandemic, we saw people asking restaurants opting to have their service on the takeaway basis. So and everyone was asking for it. We didn't went to the supermarkets as much as the small food and the small grocery shop.
And there is still a lot of tradition of local markets. So in Caldas, there's a huge fruit market on the main square. Here in Aveiro, there's a fish market and there's a fruits market. In Porto, there is still markets that happened. And in Lisbon, they are not as common, but there are still some. And the big cities, they also organize like in spaces like this. Sometimes they organize fairs with local craftsmen and small sellers. That also happens fairly often in Porto and in Lisbon. So yeah, the cities do make an effort to make the community alive.
For sure, yeah, and active, yeah.
Yeah. I never really lived long term abroad. I only went visit countries. So I don't know how that is in different countries, but I would love to hear from everyone that sees this video to just tell us how it is with the communities and small businesses and just participating in this kind of events and making them happen in your country.
Exactly.
So I think we went over most of the things I wanted to go over today. If anyone does have any other questions for us, do leave them be. I'm just going to answer here the question that Jerry made before about should a person buy a home in Portugal that is owned by another EU citizen in an offshore country. Offshores are tricky here in Portugal because they have special tax regimes for offshores. Because the offshores are inherently a tax paradise, here in Portugal they punish you for that. So basically, in this case, if you buy a house that is owned by an offshore country, you end up paying the highest EMT, so that's the transmission tax in the purchase, and that is 10%. That is obviously a very high tax, and one of the reasons for this tax is to avoid people going and putting their money in offshores. If you also buy a house and put it on with an offshore company, you also end up paying higher tax rates in everything else. For example, with the IMI, and there are some penalties. So I don't know. I never owned an offshore account. I don't know if it's worth it compared to what you save. But I would say that tread very carefully and always advise with a lawyer. In this situation, I know exactly what it is. The seller was suggesting buying the offshore itself instead of the house. I would definitely advise against that. That is a very bad idea. That is going to give you more trouble than it's worth. However, what I advised in this situation was to try and reach an agreement with the seller, for example, to divide the cost of the tax, so the buyer is not penalized for something that was a choice of the seller. But yes, offshores can be tricky here. I don't know, is there anything else you would like to comment on, Diana?
No, I don't think so. I think we said almost everything.
Yeah, so great to see all of you. We are going to end this live. This was Ana from Expat Realty and Diana Santos. That is one of my representatives. She's in the Caldas area. If you choose to go to that area from Leiria to Torres Vedras, she will be the one representing you. She has a special relationship with the relocation process, being through it yourself, and is always very understanding of the client's difficulties. I am being eaten alive by mosquitoes because I'm near a water source and I probably have sugar on my blood, so I'm going to run now. And see you again, all of you, next week. Bye now.
See you. Thanks for having me. See you. Bye bye.